Hey guys, tonight we are going to travel back to a time that is usually associated with axes, shields, and raiding parties, but we are going to focus on something completely different. We are going to look at the surprisingly soft, soapy, and well-groomed side of the Viking Age. When you close your eyes and picture a Viking warrior, you probably see a giant man covered in mud, with tangled hair and a beard that has leftovers from his last 3 meals stuck in it. You might imagine a world that smells like wet dogs and smoke. But the reality is actually much cleaner and, frankly, much more relaxing. You probably believe that medieval Europe was universally filthy, a place where people bathed once a year, if they were lucky. But here is the reality check. The Vikings were actually the cleanest people in Europe at the time, and they took their Saturday bath ritual so seriously that it baffled and annoyed their neighbors. They combed their hair every single day, changed their sheets regularly, and used beauty tools that would not look out of place in a modern salon. Before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. I would love to know where you are drifting off from tonight. Let me know your location and what time it is in the comments below. It is always nice to see how many people are winding down with us from all corners of the globe. Now, dim the lights. Let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. You are standing outside a longhouse in the middle of a quiet Scandinavian valley. The air is crisp and bites gently at your cheeks, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. It is evening, and the sun has dipped below the jagged horizon, leaving the sky painted in deep shades of indigo and bruised purple. A light wind rustles through the birch trees near the settlement, making the leaves whisper secrets to one another. You pull your wool cloak tighter around your shoulders, grateful for the heavy fabric that shields you from the chill. This is not a night for raiding or sailing. It is a night for resting. It is Saturday. In the modern world, Saturday might mean errands or social outings, but here in the Old Norse world, this day has a very specific name. It is called Lagadagur. The word rolls softly off the tongue. It translates simply and directly to pool day or wash day. This is not a suggestion or a casual habit. It is the anchor of the week. Just as the sun rises and sets, Saturday is for washing. The entire community slows down to participate in this collective exhale, scrubbing away the dirt of the fields, the soot of the forge, and the salt of the sea. You step toward the heavy wooden door of the longhouse. The timber is rough and weathered, solid against the elements. You push it open, and a wave of warmth greets you instantly. The air inside is thick and cozy, smelling of wood smoke, dried herbs, and the savory aroma of a stew that has been simmering in an iron pot all afternoon. The longhouse is long and narrow, with a central hearth that runs down the middle like a spine of fire and light. The flames dance lazily, casting long, flickering shadows against the curved walls. This is where the ritual begins. You move toward the fire, where the preparations are already underway. Bathing here is not as simple as turning a handle and waiting for hot water to pour out. It is a slow, deliberate process that demands patience. You watch as a large wooden trough is dragged closer to the hearth. It is made of oak planks, fitted together tightly to hold the water. It is not a deep tub like you might know, but wide and sturdy, sitting low to the packed earth floor. Earlier in the day, you or perhaps another member of the household walked down to the nearby stream. You can almost feel the memory of the bucket handle digging into your palm as you carried the water back. The water in the stream was ice, cold, clear as glass, running over smooth gray stones. Now that same water sits in the trough, waiting to be transformed. It is still too cold for comfort, but the fire is ready to change that. You watch the method of heating. There is no metal boiler here. Instead, you see round stones sitting directly in the heart of the flames. They have been there for an hour, soaking up the intense heat of the burning birch logs. They glow with a dull, menacing red light, pulsing with stored energy. You pick up a pair of long iron tongs. They are heavy and cool against your skin. You reach into the fire, carefully clamping the tongs around one of the glowing stones. You can feel the heat radiating from it, warming your knuckles even from this distance. With a slow, steady movement, you lift the stone and carry it to the water trough. You lower it in. As the hot rock breaches the surface, the water reacts instantly. You hear a low, aggressive hiss as the heat escapes into the liquid. A cloud of steam billows up, thick and white, rolling over the edges of the trough like a slow-moving fog. It smells of wet stone and minerals, a clean, earthy scent that mixes with the smoke in the room. You repeat this process, stone after stone. Lift, carry, submerge. Lift, carry, submerge. It is a hypnotic rhythm. With each stone, the water grows warmer, shifting from icy stream water to a steaming, inviting bath. Historians still argue whether Vikings mostly bathed in these wooden tubs inside their homes, or if they preferred communal bathhouses separate from the living quarters. Some evidence suggests that larger settlements had dedicated buildings for this, while remote farmsteads relied on the hearthside tub. For tonight, in this quiet valley, you are in the comfort of the home, close to the fire, where the warmth is trapped by the turf roof and the thick timber walls. Once the water is steaming, the next step is the soap. You might expect the Vikings to just use water and sand, but that is not the case. You look at a small clay bowl sitting on a bench nearby. Inside is a soft, pale paste. It is not a hard bar of soap. It is a mixture made from animal fats and wood ash. The chemistry is simple but effective. The lye in the ash reacts with the fat to create a cleaning agent that cuts through grease and dirt. However, because lye can be harsh, this soap is often mixed with other things to make it gentler and more pleasant. You lean in and catch the scent. It is not chemical or sharp. It smells faintly of crushed chestnuts and perhaps a handful of dried lavender or pine needles thrown into the mix. It is a forest smell, natural and grounding. This soap is a prized possession. It takes time to make, stirring the pot over the fire, getting the consistency just right. Using it is a luxury, a reward for a week of hard labor. You begin to unfasten your clothes. The Viking wardrobe is practical and layered, designed to keep the warmth in and the weather out. First, you unclasp the heavy wool cloak, the metal brooch. perhaps made of bronze or iron, feels cool as you slide the pin out. The heavy wool falls from your shoulders, and you immediately feel lighter. You fold the cloak carefully and place it on a wooden chest. The fabric is thick and slightly scratchy, smelling of the sheep it came from and the lanolin that keeps it waterproof. Next is the over-tunic. It is made of sturdy wool, dyed a deep russet red, or perhaps a muted green using plant dyes. You pull it over your head, the fabric rustling softly against your skin. Beneath that is the linen under tunic. This layer is softer, lighter, and sits directly against your body. It has absorbed the sweat of the week, and peeling it off feels like shedding an old skin. The air in the longhouse touches your skin, warm from the fire, but still cooler than the layers you just removed. You step out of your trousers, which are gathered at the knee, and finally, you unwind the leg wrappings that protect your calves from the brush and the cold. You are left standing on the earth floor, the firelight dancing across your skin. You step into the wooden trough. The water is hot, bordering on stinging, but it feels incredible. You sink down, bending your knees, letting the water rise up to your chest. A sigh escapes you, involuntary and deep. The heat penetrates your muscles, loosening the tension in your back, your shoulders, and your legs. The water is cloudy from the ash and the minerals, but it feels purifying. You take a handful of the soft soap paste. It feels slippery and cool in your palm. You begin to scrub. You start with your arms, working the paste into a lather. It does not foam up like modern detergent, but it creates a creamy, slick layer that lifts away the dirt. You scrub your chest, your neck, the back of your ears. You are methodical. This is not a quick rinse. This is lagerdaga. You have all evening. There is nowhere else you need to be. The sheep are in the pen, the tools are put away, and the darkness outside belongs to the trolls and the spirits. You are safe in the light. You scoop up water with a wooden ladle and pour it over your head. The sound of the water splashing down is gentle, a soft rhythm that fills the quiet space. You work the soap into your hair. This is a crucial part of the process. Vikings were famous for their hair. Keeping it clean was a matter of pride. You massage your scalp, feeling the grit and smoke of the week dissolve. The steam rises around your face, opening your pores, making you feel drowsy and relaxed. As you sit there soaking, you might reflect on how different this is from the rest of Europe. There is a funny historical detail that comes from an English chronicler named John of Wallingford. He wrote about the Vikings who settled in England, but he did not complain about their violence. He complained about their cleanliness. He wrote, with a tone of mild annoyance, that the Vikings caused trouble because they were too attractive to the local English women. He said they combed their hair every day, bathed every Saturday, and changed their clothes frequently. To him, this was a trick, a way to undermine the traditional family structure by smelling better than the local men. You have to smile at the thought. Your cleanliness is actually a weapon of social disruption. The water begins to cool slightly, but the stones in the fire are still hot. If you wanted, you could add another stone to bring the temperature back up, but you are content. You sit for a while longer, just listening to the fire crackle. The logs shift and settle, sending a shower of orange sparks up toward the smoke hole in the roof. You hear the wind pick up outside, a low whistle against the thatch. which only makes the water feel warmer. You look around the room. Other members of the household are busy with their own quiet tasks. Someone is mending a net, their fingers moving expertly through the twine. Someone else is carving a piece of wood, shaving off thin curls that fall to the floor. There is a sense of shared peace. The bath is often a communal time, or at least a time when the family is gathered close. In some larger longhouses, the bath might be shared, with people taking turns or washing each other's backs, reinforcing the bonds of the clan. It is intimate and respectful, a recognition that everyone deserves to be clean and cared for. Finally, you decide it is time to leave the water. You stand up, water cascading off your skin and landing with soft splashes back into the trough. The air hits you, cooler now, but you are radiated with heat from the core. You step out onto the floor, your feet finding purchase on the packed earth. You reach for a linen towel. It is not fluffy like a modern towel, but it is absorbent and sturdy. You rub your skin briskly, bringing the blood to the surface, creating a tingling sensation of warmth and vitality. You dry your hair carefully. It is heavy when wet, hanging down past your shoulders. You squeeze the water out, twisting the strands, preparing it for the combing that will come later. You feel renewed. The weight of the week is gone. You feel lighter, cleaner, and ready for the evening meal. You wrap yourself in a fresh, dry tunic. The linen feels crisp and cool against your clean skin. You pull on fresh wool socks, wiggling your toes in the warmth. You move closer to the fire to finish drying off. You sit on a bench covered in furs, perhaps a sheepskin or a reindeer hide. The fur is soft and deep, insulating you from the wood of the bench. You lean back, letting the heat of the fire dry the last dampness from your hair. You feel a profound sense of well-being. In a world that is often harsh, cold, and dangerous, this ritual of water and warmth is a sanctuary. It is a reminder that you are human, not just a survivor. As you sit there, you watch the steam still rising lazily from the bath trough. The water has done its job. Later, it will be emptied, carried back out to the earth, returning to the cycle. But for now, the room is humid and fragrant. The smell of the soap lingers on your skin, a faint trace of wood ash and pine. You run a hand over your arm, feeling the smoothness. No mud, no dust, no grease, just skin. You realize that this weekly reset is essential for your mental state as much as your physical one. The rhythm of the days can blur together. Milking cows, chopping wood, repairing fences, training with the spear. But Lagerdager breaks the cycle. It places a marker in time that says stop, cleanse, rest. It separates the labor of the week from the rest of the weekend. Tomorrow, Sunday, will be a day for social gatherings, for games, for trading stories. But you cannot enter that social space covered in the muck of the fields. You must present your best self. You look at the fire again. The flames have burned down a little, settling into a bed of glowing coals. The light in the longhouse is softer now, deeper shadows creeping into the corners. The atmosphere is incredibly sleepy. The heat of the bath has made your eyelids heavy. Your muscles, relaxed by the hot water, feel loose and pliable. You could easily curl up right here on the furs and drift off. But there is still more to the routine. Being clean is only the foundation. A Viking does not just wash and stop there. There is an art to personal presentation that goes far beyond simple hygiene. You glance over at a small wooden box Sitting on a shelf near your sleeping area, inside that box lies a set of tools that are as important to you as your knife or your axe. They are tools of beauty, carved with precision. Designed for a specific purpose, they are waiting for you. The bath has prepared the canvas. Your hair is clean, your beard is washed, your skin is scrubbed. Now begins the refinement. It is a shift from the gross removal of dirt to the delicate act of grooming. It requires better light and a steady hand. You stay by the fire, adding a small log to brighten the flame, just enough to see clearly. The sparks fly up again, mirroring the renewed energy you feel, a quiet, focused energy. You think about the people in the lands to the south, the ones who write those fearful chronicles about dragon ships and berserkers. They have no idea that the warrior they fear is currently sitting by a fire, smelling of lavender soap, feeling the soft scratch of clean linen, and looking forward to combing their hair. It is a secret duality. The ferocity on the battlefield is matched by a tenderness at the hearth. The hand that grips the sword is the same hand that carefully washes the soot from a face. The wind outside gusts a little stronger, maybe rattling the wooden shutters or whistling through a gap in the daub and wattle. But the sound is distant, belonging to a cold world that cannot touch you right now. You are insulated by the steam, the wool, and the firelight. You are clean, and in the Viking age, being clean is the ultimate luxury. It is a victory over the elements. You take a deep breath, inhaling the clean air of the longhouse. The moisture from the bath has settled the dust, making the air easier to breathe. Your lungs fill with the warmth. You feel grounded, present in your body in a way you haven't been all week. The numbness of the cold and the ache of the work are gone. You are just you, warm, washed, and waiting. The evening stretches out before you, long and unhurried. There is no rush to move to the next task. The transition from the bath to the grooming is slow. You might take a moment to drink some water, or perhaps a horn of weak ale, to rehydrate after the sweat of the steam. The cool liquid feels good going down, a contrast to the heat of your skin. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, realizing even your hand looks different, cleaner. The callus is softened by the soak. You are ready for the next step. You are ready to open the box and take out the tools that define the Viking look. But for a few more heartbeats, you just exist in the aftermath of the bath. The water in the trough is still, the surface reflecting the orange glow of the embers. It is a perfect mirror, just as the bath has been a mirror for your own need to care for yourself. The Saturday ritual is complete, but the night of care is only just beginning. You are sitting on the fur-covered bench, comfortably wrapped in your fresh linen tunic, feeling the lingering warmth of the bath radiating from your skin. The fire in the central hearth has settled into a steady, glowing pulse, casting long, dancing shadows against the timber walls. The air is still thick with the humid, soapy scent of the wash, but now it mixes with the smell of the roasted meat being prepared for the evening meal. But you are not ready to eat just yet. You have finished the heavy lifting of the bath, the scrubbing, the steaming, the rinsing. But now you must attend to the finer details. You reach down to your side, where your belt lies coiled on a wooden chest. Attached to the leather strap is a small pouch. It is not a weapon sheath. It does not hold a knife or a pouch of coins. It is made of soft, tanned leather, perhaps dyed a deep yellow or a rich brown, and it is fastened with a simple toggle made of antler. You pick it up. The leather is worn smooth from years of handling, molding perfectly to the shape of your palm. This is your personal grooming kit. In the modern world, you might have a toiletry bag tucked away in a bathroom cabinet. But in the Viking age, these items are so essential, so prized, that you keep them on your person, often hanging from your belt right alongside your knife. You undo the toggle with a slow, deliberate movement. The leather flap falls open. Inside, nestled in the soft interior, are the tools that separate a Viking from a barbarian. You reach in and pull out the centerpiece of the collection, your comb. If you were to dig up a Viking grave 1,000 years from now, this is the object you would most likely find. You probably believe that archaeologists spend their time brushing dirt off giant broadswords and heavy iron axes, and they do find those, but they find combs in significantly higher numbers, thousands of them. They are everywhere, in the graves of kings, in the graves of common farmers, in the ruins of settlements, and lost in the mud of trading posts. To you, holding it in the firelight, it is obvious why. This is not a cheap, disposable piece of plastic that you buy at a drugstore and lose under the car seat. This is a masterpiece of engineering and art. You hold the comb up to the light. It is not made of wood, which would snap too easily in thick hair, and it is not made of metal, which would be heavy and cold. It is made of antler, specifically reindeer or red deer antler. You run your thumb over the spine of the comb. The material is smooth, polished to a glass, like finish that feels almost oily to the touch, though it is perfectly dry. Antler is the perfect material because it is incredibly tough, but also has a natural flexibility. It yields just enough to glide through a tangle without breaking, absorbing the shock that would snap a lesser material. You examine the construction. This is not a single piece of bone sawed into a shape. It is a composite tool built like a sandwich. You see two long, flat plates of antler that form the spine or the handle. Sandwiched between them are several smaller, rectangular plates of antler into which the teeth have been cut. You can see the tiny iron or copper rivets that hold the whole thing together. They are spaced perfectly, hammered flush with the surface so they don't catch on your hair. The copper glints dully in the firelight, a tiny spark of metal amidst the organic white and cream of the bone. The craftsmanship is staggering. You count the teeth. There are dozens of them, cut with a precision that seems impossible without modern machinery. A professional comb maker, a specialist craftsman who does nothing else, made this. He sat in a workshop in a bustling trade town like York or Hedeby, using a fine saw to cut each gap, ensuring that every tooth was exactly the same width and length. You run your finger along the tips of the teeth. They are not sharp. They have been filed down to a gentle curve so they don't scratch your scalp. It is a tool designed for comfort as much as function. You begin to comb your hair. It is still damp from the bath, heavy and dark with moisture. You start at the ends, working the tangles out gently. The sound is unique. A soft, rhythmic scrape, slide as the antler teeth move through the strands. It is a soothing, repetitive noise that seems to amplify the quiet of the room. You work your way up toward the roots. The sensation of the cool, smooth antler against your scalp is incredibly relaxing. It massages the skin, stimulating the blood flow, waking up the roots. You take your time. This is not a hurried 2-minute brush before rushing out the door. This is a meditative act. Vikings believe that hair carries a certain power, a vitality. Keeping it groomed is a way of respecting that vitality. You pull the comb through a long section of hair, watching the firelight catch the moisture on the strands. You smooth it back, away from your face. You might have an undercut, with the back long and the sides short, or you might wear it long all over. Regardless of the style, the texture needs to be smooth. As you comb, you admire the decoration on the handle. The antler plates are not plain. They are carved with intricate geometric patterns, interlocking lines, circles with dots in the center, perhaps a stylized beast gripping its own tail. These carvings are not just for show, they give your fingers a grip, preventing the comb from slipping when your hands are wet or soapy. The lines are filled with a dark resin or soot to make the pattern pop against the pale bone. It is a personalized object. No two combs are exactly alike. Yours tells a story of where it was made and the style of the artist who made it. You pause to pull a loose hair from the teeth of the comb. You drop it into the fire, watching it curl and vanish in a tiny flash. You resume the rhythm. Slide, smooth, slide, smooth. It is hypnotic. You can feel the tension in your neck dissolving with every stroke. The simple act of bringing order to your hair brings a sense of order to your mind. The chaos of the world, the unpredictability of the weather, the stress of the harvest, it all fades away, replaced by the simple, linear logic of the comb. Once your hair is detangled and smooth, lying flat against your shoulders or tied back with a leather thong, you return the comb to the pouch. But you are not done. You dig deeper into the leather bag and pull out another object. It is much smaller, dangling from a small ring along with two other tiny tools. It looks like a piece of jewelry, perhaps a charm made of silver or bronze. You bring it closer to your eyes. It is a long, slender rod, twisting in a decorative spiral, ending in a tiny, shallow bowl. It looks like a spoon for a fairy. This is an ear spoon. To a modern sensibility, the idea of a reusable metal scoop for cleaning your ears might seem strange or even a little gross. But to you, it is the height of refinement. A wax. Clogged ear is a sign of neglect. It is a sign of someone who does not care about their body. And practically speaking, you need your hearing to be sharp. Whether you are listening for the snap of a twig in the forest while hunting or listening to the quiet murmur of a poem being recited by the fire, your senses must be clear. You use the spoon carefully. The metal is cool and smooth. It is a delicate operation that requires you to be still and focused. It forces you to slow down even more. You cannot rush this, or you might hurt yourself. There is a strange, intimate satisfaction in the process. It is a private act of maintenance, a small reclamation of your own body. The ear spoon is often beautifully made, sometimes cast in silver with a little loop at the top, so it can be hung on a necklace alongside Thor's hammer or a foreign coin. It is a status symbol. It says, I have the leisure time and the wealth to own a specific tool just for my ears. Next on the ring is a pair of tweezers. You pinch them between your thumb and forefinger. They are made of iron, springy and resistant. The tips meet perfectly. You test them against the hair on the back of your hand. Snip. Precise. Vikings are obsessive about unwanted hair. A beard is fine. In fact, A beard is glorious, but it must be a deliberate beard. It cannot be a messy sprawl that creeps up the cheekbones or down the neck in patchy clumps. The lines must be clean. You lift your chin, feeling along the underside of your jaw. You find a stray hair that has dared to grow outside the designated area. You bring the tweezers up, you locate the offender, you pull. A sharp, tiny pinch, and then it is gone. You run your hand over the skin, smooth. The tweezers are also used for splinters, of course. Living in a world made entirely of wood, wooden houses, wooden ships, wooden bowls, wooden handles, means that splinters are a constant companion. Having a good pair of tweezers is not just vanity, it is a medical necessity. But tonight, in the soft glow of the hearth, it is about vanity, and that is okay. The last item on the ring is a small pick, a slender point of bone or metal. This is for the fingernails. You look at your hands. They are strong hands, roughened by work. There is dirt ingrained in the calluses, charcoal dust from the fire, soil from the earth. But the nails themselves must be kept clean. You use the pick to gently scrape beneath the rim of each nail. You work from the thumb to the pinky, left hand, then right hand. It is another repetitive, soothing task. You watch the dirt fall away. You scrape the surface of the nail, buffing it slightly. You realize, as you sit there grooming your fingernails by the fire, that the image of the savage Viking is almost laughably wrong. A savage does not carry a specialized manicure set on their belt. A savage does not spend 30 minutes detangling their hair with an imported antler comb. This kit is a sign of a culture that values the self. It is a culture that understands that how you present yourself to the world is a reflection of your inner worth. If you take care of your gear, your ship, and your weapons, you must also take care of the hand that wields them. You slide the tools back into the leather pouch. The metal chinks softly, a gentle, musical sound. You toggle the flap closed. The pouch feels heavy and comforting in your hand. You set it back down on the chest. Beside it, you see the case for the comb. Yes, the comb is so important it often has its own case. The case is also made of antler, designed to protect the teeth from breaking if you were to fall or drop it. The case itself is decorated, perhaps with a runic inscription. Thorfast made this comb, or simply, good comb. The Vikings liked to label their things. It's a human touch that bridges the gap of 1,000 years. You can imagine Thorfast sitting there, proud of his work, carving his name so no one would forget who made the tool that brings you so much comfort tonight. You run your hand over your hair one last time. It is starting to dry now, feeling lighter and softer. The tangles are gone. The scalp feels fresh and tingle. You feel presentable. If a guest were to walk through the door right now, a trader from the south, a neighbor from across the valley, you would not be embarrassed. You are clean, groomed, and civilized. You lean back against the wall, stretching your legs out toward the fire. The heat soaks into your wool socks. You watch the flames lick around the logs, consuming the wood in slow motion. The sound of the fire is the only thing you hear. The pop of sap pockets, the hiss of escaping gas, the soft thrum of the draft drawing the smoke up. It is interesting to think about the sheer logistics of these comms. To make enough comms for the entire population, hunters had to venture deep into the forests and the northern tundras to collect thousands of antlers. Reindeer shed their antlers naturally every year, dropping them into the moss and snow. Imagine the quiet of the forest, the hunter bending down to pick up a shed antler, knowing that this rough, branching bone will eventually be transformed into a delicate tool for someone's Saturday night ritual. It connects you to the wild, even as you sit safely indoors. The calm in your pouch carries the spirit of the deer and the skill of the carver. The room is getting warmer as the evening deepens. The stew is bubbling more vigorously now, sending distinct notes of onion and boiled lamb into the air. But you are not just waiting for food. You are waiting for the next stage of the evening. The bath was the reset. The grooming kit was the maintenance. But there is one more level of care that requires a bit more trust and a bit more risk. You look across the fire. Another member of your household is there, sharpening a small knife on a wet stone. Shook, shook. The sound is rhythmic and purposeful. It is not a war knife. It is a small, nimble blade, the kind used for whittling or for cutting thread. Or, in this case, for cutting hair. You run a hand through your hair again. It is clean, yes. But perhaps it is getting a bit long in the back. Perhaps the fringe is starting to fall into your eyes. You rub your chin. The beard is clean, but the edges are a bit wild, despite your work with the tweezers. It is time for a trim. In a world without electric clippers or safety razors, a haircut is a serious operation. It requires a blade so sharp it can slice a hair in mid-air, and a hand so steady it won't slice your ear. It is an act of immense trust to let someone near your throat with a blade, even for cosmetic reasons. But that is part of the bond. You trust them. They trust you. You stand up slowly, your joints popping gently in the warmth. You pick up your comb again. You will need it. You move a low stool closer to the fire, positioning it so the light falls across your shoulders. You signal to the person with the knife. They nod, wiping the blade on a cloth, testing the edge with their thumb. It is sharp. Perfect. You sit down on the stool. You lower your head slightly, exposing the nape of your neck. You feel the presence of the other person stepping up behind you. You hear the soft rustle of their clothes. You feel their hand, warm and firm, resting on your shoulder for a moment to steady you. The grooming kit has done its job. It has prepared the way. Now, you are ready for the sculpture. You close your eyes, listening to the fire, waiting for the cold touch of the steel and the transformation that comes with it. The night is long, the house is warm, and there is nowhere else you would rather be. You sit motionless on the low wooden stool, your hands resting loosely on your knees. The fire is in front of you, warming your face and chest, but your back is turned to the room, exposed to the cooler air that drifts in from the shadowy corners of the longhouse. You feel a strange mix of vulnerability and relaxation. There is something inherently surrendering about allowing someone else to work on your hair, especially when the tool they are using is not a pair of safety scissors, but a single, edged iron knife that is kept razor sharp for everything from skinning game to carving wood. You hear the person behind you stepping closer. The floorboards creak softly under their weight. You feel their hands settle on your shoulders for a moment, warm and heavy, grounding you. It is a silent signal that they are ready and that you should be still. You take a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the wood smoke and the faint, sharp tang of the iron blade. You let your breath out slowly, dropping your shoulders away from your ears. you tilt your head forward, chin touching your chest, exposing the nape of your neck. The style you are getting tonight is one that would baffle a modern barber. If you were to walk into a city salon today and ask for this cut, they might look at you with deep concern. But here, in the Viking age, this is the height of fashion. It is a look that screams warrior, traveler, and man of status. It is essentially a reverse mullet. You are keeping the front long, very long, perhaps down to your chin or even your collarbone. But the back of your head is going to be shaved close to the skin. You feel the first touch of the cold metal against the base of your skull. It sends a shiver down your spine, not from fear, but from the sudden contrast in temperature. The knife is held at a precise angle. The person cutting your hair pulls the skin of your neck taut with their free hand. Then, with a rhythmic, scraping sound, the blade moves up. Scritch, scritch. It is a rougher sound than a modern razor, more textured. You can hear the blade cutting through the stubble that has grown over the last few weeks. This high, shaved back is not just for looks. It has a grimly practical origin. In a shield wall, when you are wearing a helmet and turning your head rapidly to spot incoming threats, you don't want hair catching in the male coif or getting sweaty and matted against your neck. It keeps you cool. It keeps your vision clear. But tonight, sitting by the fire, it just feels incredibly clean. The hair falls away, sliding down the back of your tunic or landing softly on the floor. You feel the air touching the newly exposed skin of your scalp. It feels sensitive, fresh, and strangely liberated. The barber works methodically. They scrape up from the neck to a line just above the ears. They wipe the blade on a cloth every few strokes to clear the hair. You fall into a trance listening to the rhythm. Scrape, wipe, scrape, wipe. It is a grooming ASMR experience that belongs solely to this era. There is no buzzing of electric clippers, no radio playing in the background. Just the fire, the wind outside, and the sound of the knife. Once the back is shorn to a satisfyingly prickly stubble, they move to the front. Here, the knife is used differently. They don't scrape, they slice. They gather a section of your long fringe, the forelock, and comb through it with the antler comb you used earlier. The teeth tug gently at the roots. They hold the hair between two fingers, measuring the length. You want it long enough to look impressive, to sweep back dramatically, but not so long that it blinds you. They bring the knife up and slice through the ends with a soft wick sound. This long fringe is your pride. It is what gives you the signature Viking silhouette. When you are sailing, the wind catches it. When you are at a feast, it frames your face in the firelight. You might braid it later, or bead it, but for now it hangs loose and heavy, freshly trimmed and even. As you sit there, you might recall that this specific haircut, the shaved back, long front, was so distinctively Danish or Norse that it actually caused a cultural panic in England. A man named Elfric of Eynsham, an English writer, wrote a very grumpy letter complaining that Englishmen were adopting this Danish fashion, shaving their necks and blinding their eyes with long fringes. He thought it was a sign of moral decay. You have to smile internally. It is always the same story. The older generation complaining about the cool, edgy haircuts of the youth. To Elfric, it looked pagan and dangerous. To you, it just looks sharp. The cutting is finished, but the process is not. Now comes the treatment, The Vikings didn't just want clean hair, they wanted bright hair. In this world, blonde is the ideal. The gods are often described as fair-haired. It is the color of gold, of the sun, of straw in the harvest. If you were born with blonde hair, you are lucky. But if you were born with mousy brown or dark hair, you have to help nature along a little bit. You feel the barber moving away for a moment. They return with a small bowl. You can smell it before they even touch you. It is a stronger version of the soap you used in the bath. It is a high, concentrate lye paste, made from the strongest beechwood ash and caustic lime. To a modern nose, it smells chemically and intense, almost like a very strong cleaning product. They scoop a generous amount of this paste onto their hands. They warn you to close your eyes tight. You oblige, squeezing your eyelids shut. You feel the heavy, cool paste being slapped onto your wet hair. They massage it in vigorously. It feels thick and gritty. And then the sensation starts. It is a tingle, a prickling heat that spreads across your scalp. It isn't painful. Exactly, but it is definitely active. You can feel the chemistry happening. The lye is bleaching the pigment out of your hair, turning it a shade or two lighter. This strong soap serves a dual purpose, and both are equally important for a good night's sleep. First, it gives you that coveted golden sheen. A dark-haired Viking might emerge from this treatment with a reddish, gold mane, while a blonde Viking will look almost white-haired, shining like a beacon. But the second purpose is purely hygienic. This lye soap is the nuclear option for lice. In the medieval world, lice are a constant, itchy threat. They live in the woodwork, in the bedding, in the clothes. But they cannot survive this Saturday night lye treatment. The caustic soap kills them instantly. So, as you sit there with your head covered in this tingling, burning paste, you are not just dyeing your hair, you are ensuring that you will not be scratching your head all week. It is a feeling of ultimate purification. You are burning away the pests and the dirt, leaving only the clean, golden warrior underneath. You let the paste sit for a while. The heat of the fire helps the process. Your scalp feels warm and throbbing in a rhythmic, pleasant way. It's similar to the feeling of a menthol shampoo, but earthier and more intense. You listen to the crackle of the logs. You feel the heavy stillness of the house. The children are asleep in the alcoves. The older family members are murmuring quietly on the other side of the hearth. You are in your own little bubble of sensation, after what feels like the right amount of time. Judged solely by the experience of the barber, it is time to rinse. You lean forward over a basin, or perhaps the trough again. A pitcher of warm water is poured over your head. The sound is a rushing cascade that drowns out everything else for a second. The water washes away the lye, the grit, and the loose hair. The stinging stops immediately, replaced by a cool, soothing relief. They pour pitcher after pitcher until the water runs clear. You sit up, gasping slightly, water dripping from your nose and chin. You feel incredibly awake and yet deeply relaxed. Your scalp feels tight and scrubbed. You towel off again, rubbing vigorously. When you touch your hair, it feels different, squeaky clean, lighter, and stripped of all oil. But you are not done yet. You cannot ignore the beard. If the hair is the crown, the beard is the mask. A Viking face without a beard is considered incomplete, almost naked. But a beard is not just a bush that grows on your face. It is a project. It requires architecture. You tilt your chin up. The barber inspects your facial hair. It has been washed, so it is soft and fluffy, sticking out in all directions. It needs to be tamed. They take the comb again. They comb the beard out, starting from the chin and working down. It is a strange sensation, feeling the comb teeth moving through the hair on your jaw. It vibrates through your skull. Once it is combed straight, the knife returns. This time the work is even more delicate. They trim the stray hairs on your cheeks, creating a sharp line that accentuates your cheekbones. They trim the mustache so it doesn't hang over your lip. Nobody wants soup in their mustache. Then they shape the bottom. Beard fashions vary. Some men like a long, pointed beard. Some prefer a forked beard, split in the middle like a snake's tongue. Some like it square and blocky. Tonight, let's say you are going for the forked look. It is a classic. The barber carefully separates the beard into two masses. They trim the inside edges, creating a distinct gap. They snip the ends into sharp points. You feel the cold steel hovering millimeters from your throat. It is a moment of absolute stillness. You don't swallow. You don't breathe deeply. You just exist. The trust between you and the person holding the knife is absolute. It is a bond forged in these quiet moments by the fire. In a life that is often defined by chaos and violence, this delicate, careful act of grooming is a profound expression of care. Finally, the cutting is done. But there is one last touch. The barber reaches for a small pot of wax, or perhaps a specialized oil. It might be made from beeswax mixed with a little animal fat, and perhaps a drop of imported oil from the south, bought from a trader who traveled the Silk Roads. They warm a small amount between their fingers until it melts. They work the wax into your beard. They twist the ends of the fork, shaping them into distinct points that will hold their shape. They smooth down the mustache. The wax smells sweet and honey, like masking the faint lingering scent of the lye. It adds a gloss to the hair, making it shine in the firelight. You run your hand over your beard. It feels structured. It feels firm. It is no longer a wild growth. It is a styled feature. You check the back of your head. The stubble is rough and satisfying against your palm. You touch your fringe. It is soft and golden, falling perfectly into place. You stand up from the stool, shaking the loose hairs from your tunic. You feel transformed. You are aerodynamic. You are sanitized. You are stylized. The reverse mullet might look odd to the eyes of the future, but to you, feeling the cool air on your shaved neck and the weight of your long fringe, it feels like armor. You are wearing the uniform of your people. You thank the barber. Maybe it is your wife, your brother, or a bondservant who is particularly skilled with the knife. A nod is enough. They wipe the knife clean and put it away. The hair on the floor will be swept into the fire, vanishing in a puff of smoke. You return to your bench. The fire seems brighter now, or maybe your eyes are just wider. The Saturday night fever of the bath and the haircut is winding down, but there is still a sense of industry in the room. You are not the only one grooming. You look around and see others tending to their clothes. Being clean is good, but putting dirty clothes back on a clean body defeats the purpose. You watch as someone smooths a tunic on a flat board. They are holding a strange object in their hand. It looks like a mushroom made of glass. It is dark, smooth, and rounded. This is the next step in the cycle of order. The Vikings did not just wash their bodies, they iron their clothes. It sounds impossible. You picture ironing as an electrical appliance with a steam button. But the concept of smoothing wrinkles is ancient, and the Vikings, with their love of fine linen, were pioneers of the sleek look. You feel a curiosity rising. You move closer to watch. The process is mesmerizingly slow. It is quiet. It involves heat and stone and pressure. Your own clean tunic is waiting for you for tomorrow. It is hanging nearby, dry but wrinkled from the wash. You realize that to complete the feeling of total renewal, you will need to smooth it out. You want to look crisp for the feast tomorrow. You want the pleats to be sharp. You settle back down, watching the glass stone catch the light. The ironing stone, or smoother, is a beautiful object in its own right. It is usually a piece of dark glass, often imported, shaped into a bun, like dumb. It is heated near the fire, just enough to be warm, but not hot enough to scorch the fabric. The person using it moves it in circles over the linen. Swish, swish, swish. It makes a different sound than the knife or the comb. It is a soft, friction, heavy sound. The linen relaxes under the heat and pressure, transforming from a crumpled mess into a flat, shining sheet of fabric. You realize that the stereotype of the rough, unkempt barbarian is not just wrong, it is the complete opposite of the truth. These are a people who bleach their hair to perfection, shave their necks for a clean line, wax their beards into shapes, and are about to iron their shirts with heated glass. It is a culture of immense, almost obsessive, attention to detail. You touch your shaved neck again. The skin is cooling down after the initial shock of the air. It feels good. You feel prepared. Prepared for what? For sleep, mostly, but also for the life that waits for you when the sun rises. You are a sharpened blade. You are a polished stone. You are a groomed Viking. The night is settling in deeper. The wind has died down, leaving a heavy silence over the valley. The only sounds are the settling of the wooden beams of the house and the rhythmic swish of the smoothing stone. You find yourself drawn to that sound. It is the sound of domestic peace. It is the sound of a world that is, for this moment, completely under control. You are clean, you are trimmed, and soon your clothes will be smooth. You are watching the firelight play across the dark, glassy surface of a smoothing stone. It sits on a flat whalebone board, waiting to be used. You have bathed, you have groomed your hair and beard, and now you are turning your attention to your wardrobe. It is not enough to be clean underneath, the outer layer must match. In a world where appearances signal status, wealth, and self-respect, walking around in a wrinkled tunic is simply not an option for a Viking of any standing. You pick up the smoothing stone. It fits perfectly in your hand, a heavy, rounded dome of dark glass. This is not a rough rock you found in the river. It is a luxury item, likely imported from the glassworks of the Rhineland, or perhaps recycled from a broken Roman vessel found in a distant field. It is smooth, cool, and incredibly dense. You hold it near the fire for a moment, not thrusting it into the flames like a cooking stone, but letting it absorb the ambient warmth until it is pleasant to the touch. Warm, but not burning. You spread your Sunday tunic out on the board. The board itself is a marvel. It is a flat plaque made of whalebone, scavenged from a carcass washed ashore or traded from the northern hunters. It is ivory white, polished by years of use, and scarified with tiny scratches from the sand and the stone. You lay the linen fabric across it. The linen is high quality, woven on a warp, weighted loom by the women of the household. It is a pale, natural color, perhaps bleached by the sun, or maybe dyed a soft blue with woad. But right now, it is stiff and crinkled from being washed and dried. You begin to work. You press the warm glass stone onto the fabric. You move it in slow, deliberate circles. Swish, swish, swish. The sound is soft and dry, like leaves rustling together. You apply pressure, using the weight of your shoulder to drive the stone down. The heat from the glass relaxes the fibers of the linen. The pressure flattens them against the hard whalebone. You watch as the wrinkles vanish, replaced by a smooth, glossy surface. This is the Viking version of ironing, but it is more than that. It is polishing. The friction of the glass against the linen creates a slight sheen on the fabric, a subtle luster that catches the light. When you wear this tunic tomorrow, it will gleam in the sun. It will look crisp and expensive. It is a satisfying process. You smooth out the sleeves, working your way from the shoulder to the cuff. You smooth the neckline, ensuring it lies flat. You smooth the hem. As you work, your mind drifts to the strange disconnect between your reality and the future's perception of you. You are meticulously pressing a shirt with a piece of imported glass on a whalebone board. Yet, in the stories told 1,000 years from now, you will be depicted wearing ragged furs and leather scraps, looking like you just rolled out of a bear cave. The irony is almost funny. You probably spend more time on laundry care than most modern people. You don't have a tumble dryer to fluff your clothes. You have patience and a stone. The repetition is soothing. Your hand moves in a steady rhythm. Circle, slide, lift. Circle, slide, lift. The warmth of the stone seeps into your palm. The smell of the warm linen rises up, a clean, grassy scent that reminds you of summer fields. It is a domestic meditation. In the quiet of the longhouse, with the family settling down around you, this simple task feels like an anchor. It is a way of putting the world in order, one wrinkle at a time. You finish the tunic and fold it carefully, placing it on the chest with your cloak. Next, you pick up your trousers. They are wool, not linen, so they don't need the same kind of polishing, but you might give the seams a quick press to make them lie flat. You check the pleats. Viking fashion often involves voluminous, pleated trousers that gather at the knee. These pleats are a nightmare to maintain without an iron, but the smoothing stone does the job. You press the folds into place, ensuring the silhouette will be sharp. You set the stone down to cool. Your clothes are ready. Your body is ready, but the night is not quite over. The fire is still burning low, and there is a sense of communal relaxation that hasn't fully peaked yet. You look towards the back of the longhouse, or perhaps towards a smaller, separate structure nearby. You see steam escaping from under the doorframe. You hear the murmur of voices and the hiss of water on rocks. It is time for the sauna. While the weekly wash in the tub is mandatory, the sweat bath is a luxury, a therapy, and a social club all rolled into one. The Vikings, much like their Finnish neighbors and their descendants in Scandinavia today, understood the power of deep heat. It is not just about cleaning the skin. It is about cleaning the spirit. It is about sweating out the demons of the week. The stiffness from rowing, the ache from chopping wood, the stress of a long winter. You strip off the tunic you just put on. It was only a temporary covering anyway. and wrap a simple towel around your waist. You step out of the main room and into the cold night air for just a second. The shock is instant. The air is freezing, biting at your exposed skin. You hurry across the short distance to the bathhouse. You pull the door open and duck inside. The heat hits you like a physical wall. It is a thick, wet heat that tastes of smoke and birch leaves. The room is small and dim, lit only by the glow of the stone oven in the corner. The oven is a pile of large rocks heated by a fire underneath until they are white, hot. There are wooden benches arranged in tiers along the walls. You climb up to the top bench, where the heat is most intense. You sit down on the wood. It is hot against your skin, but not burning. You lean back against the log wall. The air is so thick you can almost chew it. You take a deep breath, and the heat fills your lungs, warming you from the inside out. You feel your pores opening instantly. The sweat starts to bead on your forehead, your chest, your arms. It is a profuse, cleansing sweat. You are not alone. Other men from the farm or the village are here. They are sitting in the semi-darkness, their forms hazy in the steam. The conversation is low and sporadic. This is not a place for loud arguments or boisterous storytelling. It is a place for quiet murmurs. The fishing was good today. The frost is coming early. My shoulder still hurts from the shield wall practice. Someone picks up a wooden ladle from a bucket of water. They toss the water onto the hot rocks. Hiss! The sound is aggressive and violent, a sudden explosion of noise in the quiet room, an invisible wave of steam. The lauyalai rolls over you. It feels like a heavy blanket descending, pressing the heat into your bones. You gasp slightly as the temperature spikes. Your skin tingles. Your heart beats a little faster. This is the endurance test. How long can you sit in the heat? It is a gentle challenge, a shared suffering that builds camaraderie. You wipe the sweat from your eyes. You feel the tension melting out of your muscles. That knot in your back from lifting the heavy timber beams. Gone. The stiffness in your knees from the cold dampness. Gone. You are pliable. You are liquid. You see someone holding a bundle of birch twigs, still with the leaves on. They have been soaked in water to make them soft. This is the Vitor vast. It looks like a small broom. You watch as the man begins to gently whip himself with the branches. Thwack, thwack, thwack. It sounds painful, but it isn't. It is a massage. The leaves slap against the skin, bringing blood to the surface, exfoliating the dead cells and releasing a fresh, green scent of birch oil into the steam. He passes the bundle to you. You take it. The wet leaves are hot and heavy. You slap the bundle against your shoulders, your back, your thighs. The sensation is invigorating. It wakes up your skin. The smell is incredible, like a forest after rain, concentrated and amplified by the heat. You are literally beating the essence of the forest into your skin. You feel alive. You feel vibrant. After 10 or 15 minutes, the heat becomes too much. It is time for the contrast. This is the part that makes the Viking bath famous. You climb down from the bench, your legs feeling like jelly. You push open the door and stumble out into the night. The cold is no longer an enemy. It is a lover. You stand in the snow, or perhaps you walk to the edge of the freezing stream. Your body is radiating so much heat that you don't feel the cold at first. You feel a cloud of steam rising from your own skin. You look like a ghost in the moonlight. If you are brave, and you are a Viking, so you are. You don't just stand there. You jump. You plunge into the icy water of the stream, or you roll in a drift of fresh, powdery snow. GSPP. The shock is absolute. It knocks the wind out of you. Every nerve ending in your body fires at once. The transition from 80 degrees Celsius to 0 is a biological thunderclap. Your blood vessels constrict, forcing the blood deep into your core. You feel a rush of endorphins, a natural high that is sharper and cleaner than any owl. You scramble out of the water or the snow, gasping, laughing, your skin glowing bright red. You run back into the sauna. The heat welcomes you back. You climb the bench again. The cycle repeats. Heat, sweat, birch twigs, cold plunge. Heat, sweat, birch twigs, cold plunge. You do this 2 or 3 times. Each time, you go a little deeper into a state of relaxation. Your mind goes blank. You are not thinking about the raid next summer. You are not thinking about the trade deal with the Frisians. You are only thinking about the heat and the cold. This ritual is the secret to Viking health. It boosts the immune system. It keeps the skin clear. It keeps the joints moving. And most importantly, it bonds the community. Sitting naked in the steam, there are no ranks. The Jarl sweats just as much as the thrall. The armor is off. The weapons are outside. Here, everyone is just flesh and blood, enduring the elements together. Finally, you are done. You feel completely drained, but in the best possible way. You are clean in a way that goes beyond soap. You have sweated out the toxins of your very soul. You dry off one last time. You put on your fresh sleeping tunic. It feels impossibly soft against your sensitized skin. You walk back to the main longhouse. The fire is just embers now. The house is quiet. Most people are already in their sleeping furs. You feel a profound, heavy tiredness settling into your limbs. It is the sauna heavy, a specific kind of exhaustion that promises the deepest, most dreamless sleep of your life. But as you prepare for bed, you catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished metal mirror or a bucket of water. You see a person who is groomed, scrubbed, ironed, and steamed. And you remember the other reason for all this effort. It isn't just for health. It isn't just for comfort. It is for love. The Vikings were romantic, or at least they were strategic about romance. And nothing says, "I am a good catch," like smelling of pine soap and having a well-oiled beard. You think about the stories of English women falling for Viking men. It wasn't because they were dangerous bad boys. It was because they were the only men around who didn't smell like a barn. In a world where bad breath and body odor are the norm, a man who bathes weekly, steams his clothes, and cleans his ears is a unicorn. You are using hygiene as a courtship display. You are signaling that you are disciplined, wealthy enough to afford soap and combs, and considerate enough to not offend the noses of those around you. You drift towards your sleeping bench. The furs are piled high, sheepskins, wolf pelts, perhaps a down-filled pillow if you are wealthy. You crawl in. The furs are cold at first, but your body heat quickly warms them. You pull the heavy cover up to your chin. You lie there in the darkness. You can smell the faint scent of the juniper smoke from the sauna clinging to your hair. You can feel the smoothness of your clean skin against the linens. You listen to the breathing of the household. A soft, collective rhythm. The wind is still blowing outside, a distant, lonely sound that only emphasizes how safe and warm you are inside. You think about the day you have had, the hauling of the water, the heating of the stones, the combing of the hair, the trimming of the beard, the ironing of the tunic, the sweating in the sauna. It has been a full day of work, but it was work for yourself. It was work to reclaim your humanity from the grime of survival. You realize that this is the true secret of the Vikings. They were not just conquerors of lands, they were conquerors of chaos. They imposed order on the wild world, and they imposed order on their own bodies. In the midst of the mud and the blood of the dark ages, they carved out a space for beauty and cleanliness. They refused to be dirty. They refused to be unkempt. They insisted on dignity. Your eyelids are heavy. You can barely keep them open. The fire pops one last time, a dying spark in the dark. The warmth of the sauna is still humming in your veins. You feel clean. You feel smooth. You feel ready to sleep for 1,000 years. The image of the muddy barbarian fades away, replaced by the reality of you. A man who smells of birch leaves and fresh linen, drifting off in a house that smells of lavender and wood smoke. You are the well-groomed warrior, and tonight, your only battle is against the Sandman. And you are happy to surrender. You are sitting on a high wooden bench in a darkness, so thick it feels like a physical weight against your skin. The air is not just hot. It is heavy, textured, and alive. You are no longer in the spacious, airy main hall of the longhouse. You have retreated to a smaller, dedicated structure that sits at the edge of the farmstead, half buried in the earth to trap the heat. This is the bathhouse, the Baistofa or the sauna, and it is the beating heart of the Viking weekend. While the tub by the hearth was for scrubbing off dirt, this room is for scrubbing the soul. The only light comes from the glowing mouth of the stone oven in the corner. It is a pile of river rocks, round and smooth, that have been heated by a birch fire for half the day. The fire has been allowed to die down now, leaving only a bed of pulsing red embers deep within the stone cairn. There is no chimney. This is a smoke sauna. For hours, the smoke from the fire filled this room, coating the timber walls in a layer of sterile, black soot and filling the air with a sweet, cured aroma. Just before you entered, the smoke was vented out through a small hatch, leaving behind only the heat and the smell, a scent of charred wood, tar, and ancient comfort. You lean back against the wall behind you. The wood is hot, but not burning. It is polished smooth by generations of backs that have leaned against it in this same ritual. You are naked, stripped of your wool, your linen, your leather, and your status. In the dim red light, everyone looks the same. The jarl and the bondservant, the warrior and the farmer. Here, in the steam, there is no hierarchy. There is only the shared endurance of the heat. You listen to the silence. It is a profound, heavy silence that you only find in a room insulated by turf and snow. The wind might be howling outside, tearing at the roof, but in here, the world is muffled. You hear the breathing of the others sitting on the benches around you. It is a slow, rhythmic breathing, synchronized by the temperature. You hear the shifting of wood as the benches expand in the heat. You hear the occasional pop of a cooling stone. Then someone moves. A shadow in the corner dips a wooden ladle into a bucket of water. You know what is coming. You brace yourself, not with fear, but with a delicious anticipation. The water is tossed onto the pile of glowing rocks. Hiss-sus. The sound is aggressive, like a living thing waking up. It starts as a sharp crack and dissolves into a long, angry exhale. And then, the spirit of the sauna arrives. The Vikings, like the Finns, believe that the steam has a spirit, a loyalai. It is an invisible wave that rises from the stones, hits the ceiling, and rolls down the walls to embrace you. You feel it hit your shoulders first. It is a blanket of moist, intense heat. It pushes the air out of your lungs for a second. Your skin prickles as the temperature spikes. You close your eyes and let it happen. The sweat breaks instantly on your forehead, running down your temples, stinging your eyes with salt. It runs down your chest, your back, your arms. You are melting. The tension that you have been carrying in your muscles, the knot in your shoulder from the shield drill, the ache in your lower back from the harvest, begins to dissolve. The heat penetrates deep, past the skin, into the bone. This is not just relaxation. This is medicine. In a world without antibiotics or advanced surgery, the sauna is the primary way to treat illness. If you have a cold, you come here to sweat it out. If your joints ache from the damp cold of the longship, you come here to warm them through. The heat induces an artificial fever, ramping up your immune system, convincing your body that it is fighting off an invader. You sit there, feeling your heart rate climb, feeling the blood pumping hard through your veins, flushing out the stagnation of the week. You breathe in through your nose. The air burns slightly, but it clears your sinuses instantly. The scent is complex. It is smoke, yes, but also the smell of the drying herbs hanging from the rafters. Bunches of meadowsweet, mugwort, and perhaps some imported dried lavender. The humidity carries these oils into your lungs. You feel your chest expanding, loosening. You are breathing deeper than you have all week. After a few minutes, the intensity settles into a steady, throbbing warmth. You open your eyes and look at your companions. Their skin is glistening, reflecting the ember light. There is no need for conversation. The heat does the talking. But if words are spoken, they are low and murmured. The bathhouse is a place of truce. No weapons are allowed here. No arguments are brought through the door. It is a sacred space of neutrality. In the steam, grievances are sweated out along with the dirt. You reach for the bundle of twigs lying on the bench beside you. This is the vita. It is a bouquet of young birch branches, gathered in early summer, when the leaves are soft and full of sap, and dried specifically for this moment. You dip the bundle into the water bucket to soften the leaves, then hold it over the hot stones for a moment to warm it up. The smell of hot, wet birch leaves explodes into the room. A green, sharp, forest smell that cuts through the smoke. You begin the ritual of the whisking. You gently slap your skin with the leafy bundle. Thwack, thwack, thwack. It sounds harsh, but the sensation is incredible. It is a massage and an exfoliation in one. The leaves stimulate the blood flow to the surface of your skin. The sap acts as a mild soap, cleaning and conditioning. You work on your legs, your thighs, your arms. The rhythmic percussion of the leaves against skin is the music of the sauna. Others around you are doing the same. The room is filled with the soft, rustling beat of the birch twigs. You focus on your back. You might ask the person sitting behind you to help. They take the whisk and work on your shoulders, driving the heat into the muscles that bear the weight of the mail shirt and the axe. It is a communal act of care. In the harsh environment of the North, touch is often limited to violence or strict social greetings. But here, caring touch is normalized. It is a rare moment of tenderness among warriors. The heat is climbing again. The stones are still radiating power. You feel a light-headedness, a floating sensation. This is the sauna high, the rush of endorphins released by the thermal stress. Your mind goes blank. You are not thinking about the crop yield. You are not thinking about the rumors of war in the south. You are only thinking about the heat, the sweat, and the breath. You are entirely present in your body. But the heat is only half of the equation. To truly unlock the power of the sauna, you must embrace the contrast. You signal to your companions, "It is time." You stand up, your legs feeling heavy and rubbery, and make your way to the door. You push it open. The world outside is waiting. It is winter. The snow is piled high against the walls of the bathhouse. The air is crisp, hovering well below freezing. The sky is a vast, open dome of stars, perhaps with the faint, green ribbons of the northern lights dancing on the horizon. You step out. The shock is instantaneous. It is a physical blow. The cold air hits your heated skin, and you gasp. Steam rises from your body in a thick cloud, making you look like a spirit manifesting in the night. You do not shiver. Your core is so hot that the cold feels refreshing, almost sweet. You walk barefoot through the snow. The crystals crunch under your feet, biting at your soles, but the sensation is electric. You walk to the edge of the nearby stream or a hole cut in the ice of the lake. The water is black and still. You do not hesitate. You cannot hesitate. You slide into the icy water. The sensation is beyond cold. It is a reset button for your entire nervous system. For a second, you cannot breathe. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Your skin feels tight, as if it is shrinking to fit your body better. But then, the rush comes. A flood of warmth from your core fights back against the cold. You feel invincible. You feel more alive than you have ever felt. You dip your head under for a split second, the ultimate baptism of ice, and then scramble out onto the snowbank. You stand there for a moment, dripping and steaming under the aurora. You look up at the sky. The silence of the frozen landscape is absolute. The contrast between the dark, hot, smoky whum of the sauna and the bright, cold, infinite expanse of the night is a spiritual experience. You feel small, yet powerful. You are part of the elements. Fire and ice. You have mastered them both. You turn and run back into the bathhouse. The heat welcomes you back like a lover. You climb the bench again, the tingling in your skin as the blood rushes back to the surface is intense, a prickly, vibrating sensation that spreads from your toes to your scalp. You lean back and close your eyes, drifting into a state of pure, deep relaxation. This cycle, heat, cold, is the engine of Viking resilience. It toughens the body and calms the mind. As you sit in the warmth for the second or third round, the atmosphere in the room shifts. The intense, focused silence of the first round gives way to a softer, more languid mood. The hard work of the sweat is done. Now comes the socializing. This is where the community is knit together. In the semi-darkness, barriers drop. You might hear a quiet laugh from the corner. Someone might start a low, humming song, a tune without words that vibrates in the wooden walls. Gossip is exchanged, but it is gentle gossip. Did you see the new foal at the neighbor's farm? I heard a trader from the east brought glass beads. The barley looks good this year. It is in this room that the important decisions of the farmstead are often discussed informally. before they are brought to the main hall. The bond formed in the sweat is a bond of trust. You look at the faces around you, flushed red, eyes heavy with relaxation, hair plastered to skulls. These are your people. You rely on them for survival, and right now, you are sharing a moment of pure, defenseless comfort with them. You notice the details of the room more clearly now that your eyes have adjusted. The walls are black, coated in years of soot, which actually helps to sterilize the wood. The benches are made of aspen or poplar, woods that don't get too hot to the touch. The floor is slatted to allow the water to drain away. Everything is functional, robust, and built to last. It is a space designed perfectly for its purpose. You also notice that it's not just about sitting. Some people are using the heat for more active grooming. In the corner, someone is using a rough stone to scrub the calluses from their feet. Another is applying a salve of bear fat and pine resin to a sore elbow. The heat makes the skin absorbent, making these treatments more effective. The sauna is the spa, the clinic, and the salon. The water bucket is empty now. The stones are beginning to hiss less aggressively, their heat slowly fading into a gentler, radiant warmth. The peak of the intensity has passed. It is a signal that the ritual is winding down. You feel a profound sense of cleanliness. It is not just that your skin is clean. You feel clean on the inside. The mental fog has lifted. The worries that seemed so big this morning now feel manageable, distant. You step down from the bench, your movements slow and heavy. You feel sauna drunk, a state of blissful lethargy where your limbs feel like they weigh 1,000 pounds, but your spirit feels weightless. You grab your towel and step out into the antechamber, a small changing room that acts as a buffer between the heat and the cold. Here, the air is cool but not freezing. You dry off slowly. Your skin is pink and glowing. You feel a hunger rising in your belly. The sauna hunger. The body has burned a lot of energy regulating its temperature, and now it craves sustenance. You look forward to the cold owl and the roasted meat waiting in the longhouse. You wrap yourself in your tunic. It feels different now. Before, it was just clothes. Now, it is a soft shell protecting your renewed body. You step out of the bathhouse and walk back towards the main hall. The snow crunches under your boots. You look back at the low, turf-covered roof of the sauna, with a wisp of steam still curling up from the vent, disappearing into the night sky. You realize that this building is the most important structure on the farm. The longhouse is for living, the barn is for the animals, but the bathhouse is for the human spirit. It is the place where the Vikings stop being warriors, farmers, and sailors, and simply become human beings seeking warmth in a cold world. The walk back to the longhouse is short. You open the heavy door, and the smell of the hearth fire and food hits you. But you bring the peace of the sauna in with you. You move slower. You speak softer. You have been reset. As you find your place on the bench near the fire, you feel a deep sense of gratitude. You are clean. You are warm. You are surrounded by family. And you know that next Saturday, no matter what happens in the week between, the stones will be heated again, the water will be thrown, and the steam will rise to welcome you back. You are sitting at the long table in the main hall, a horn of weak awl resting near your hand. The air is filled with the low, comforting hum of conversation and the clatter of wooden trenchers. The feast is underway. It is Saturday night. the high point of the social week, and the room is packed. But you are not focused on the food, at least not yet. You are focused on the subtle, invisible energy circulating in the room, the energy of attraction, status, and romance. And in this arena, you have a secret weapon that is far more powerful than your sword or your shield. You are clean. You lean back against the timber wall, feeling the crisp, ironed linen of your tunic resting lightly against your skin. You catch a faint whiff of yourself, a complex, woodsy bouquet of birch smoke from the sauna, the pine, tar scent of the soap, and the sweet, waxy finish of the beard oil. In a modern context, this might just smell like clean, but in the medieval world, this is an olfactory revolution. It is a scent that disrupts the natural order of things. You look across the firelight. You see the neighbors, perhaps traders from further south or local Anglo-Saxon landowners if you are settled in the Danelaw of England. They are good people, sturdy and hardworking. But you can tell, just by looking, that they do not observe Logodagur. Their hair is matted close to their heads, dull and heavy with the grease of the week. Their beards are tangled thickets. Their clothes are sturdy, but stained with the mud of the plough and the soot of the hearth. They smell, frankly, like the world, like livestock, damp wool, and sweat. You, on the other hand, smell like a forest after a rainstorm. This contrast is not just a matter of personal preference. It is a matter of historical record. You might be amused to know that your hygiene habits are actually causing a significant amount of political tension. The local chroniclers, the monks who write the histories of the English and the Franks, are writing about you right now. And they are furious. One of them, John of Wallingford, penned a chronicle that sounds less like a history book and more like a complaint letter to a homeowners association. He wrote that the Vikings were causing trouble because they were too popular with the ladies. He listed your crimes. You comb your hair every single day, you bathe every Saturday, and you change your clothes frequently. To the monk, these were tricks. He called them snares used to overcome the chastity of women and even to seduce the daughters of nobles. You have to smile into your Al cup. It is a strange badge of honor. You are being accused of cheating at romance simply because you own a comb. But as you look around the room, you can see why the accusation sticks. The firelight catches the gold in your hair, hair that has been brightened by the lye soap and smoothed by the antler teeth. It gleams. Your beard, forked and waxed, creates a sharp, masculine silhouette that draws the eye. Your skin, scrubbed free of the gray layer of dust, looks healthy and vibrant. You notice a glance from across the table. It is a lingering look. In a world where life is hard and often short, signs of health are incredibly attractive. Cleanliness implies health. It implies that you have the resources to take care of yourself. It implies that you are not carrying lice, or at least fewer lice than the guy next to you. It signals that you have leisure time. If you have time to iron your pleated trousers with a heated glass stone, you clearly aren't starving or frantically working every second of the day to survive. You are a catch. This dynamic creates a fascinating tension in the room. The local men, the ones who think washing once a year is sufficient, look at you with a mix of suspicion and jealousy. They don't understand why anyone would waste good firewood just to heat water for a bath. They think you are vain. They call you a fop or a dandy. But then they watch as the women of the village gravitate toward the side of the room that smells like lavender and soap. The unfair advantage of the Viking is not their size or their axes, it is their toiletries. You take a sip of your ale, feeling the warmth of the alcohol joining the warmth of the sauna in your blood. You are not doing this to be cruel to the locals. You are doing it because it is your culture. But you are also aware that courtship in the Viking Age is a serious business, and you need every edge you can get. Marriage here is often a strategic alliance, a contract between families to join lands or wealth. But that doesn't mean there isn't room for romance, or at least for strong attraction. And the rituals of grooming are deeply entwined with the rituals of love. You reach into your pouch, the same one that holds your comb, and your fingers brush against a small object you have been working on. It is a gift. In the modern world, you might give flowers or chocolates. Here, you give grooming tools. It is the ultimate sign of intimacy. I want you to be clean, and I want to help you be clean. You pull the object out, shielding it with your hand, so only you can see it for a moment. It is a comb, but it is smaller and more delicate than your own. You carved it yourself from a piece of smooth, white bone. You spent evenings by the fire, whittling the teeth, sanding the handle with a rough stone until it was soft as silk. On the spine of the comb, you have carved a message in runes. Runes are thought to have magical properties, but they are also used for passing notes. This inscription is not a spell for wealth or victory. It is simple and direct. It says, "Kiss me." This is not a hypothetical scenario. Archaeologists have actually found combs from this era with that exact inscription, "Kiss me." It is a human voice speaking from the past, playful and flirtatious. You imagine sliding this comb across the table to the person you are courting. They will pick it up, feel the weight of the bone, and run their thumb over the runes. They will read the message. It is a quiet, private communication in a crowded room. It suggests that later, when the fire burns down, you might find a quiet corner together. The gift of a comb is heavy with meaning. By giving it, you are saying, "I value your hair. I value your beauty." In Viking poetry, women are often described by their hair, the goddess of the flaxen locks, or the lady of the flowing gold. Hair is a symbol of vitality and power for women, just as much as for men. A woman's hair is often kept long, covered by a linen cap or a scarf when she is working, but unleashed in the privacy of the home. Giving her a tool to tend to that hair is a way of entering her private sphere. There is another layer to this grooming-based romance that might surprise you. It involves a practice that sounds unappealing to modern ears, but was actually a deep bonding activity in the past delosing. Even with your Saturday baths and your lye soap, the reality of the medieval world is that nature is always trying to reclaim you. You might have a stray itch on your scalp. In a quiet moment, perhaps sitting on a bench outside in the sun, or by the hearth in the evening, a couple might groom each other. You imagine the sensation. You lean your head back, resting it on your partner's lap. They run their fingers through your hair, checking for anything that shouldn't be there. It sounds gross to the modern mind, but you must reframe it. It is a primate grooming behavior. It is gentle, repetitive touch. It is someone caring for your comfort. Their fingers massage your scalp, separating the strands, checking the skin. It creates a bubble of intimacy. It requires absolute trust. You are vulnerable. And in return, you do the same for them. It is a silent language of caretaking. I will keep you clean. I will keep you safe from the itch. In a harsh world, that service is a form of love. But tonight, at the feast, the focus is on the visual. You are presenting your best self. And there is a debate among historians that suggests you might be wearing more than just soap. You might be wearing makeup. You rub a hand across your eyes. They feel tired from the smoke of the hall, but they look sharp. An Arab traveler named Ibn Fadlan, who met a group of Vikings, specifically the Rus on his travels, wrote down his observations. He noted that they wore a type of eyeliner, darkening the area around their eyes. He said it didn't make them look feminine. It made them look fierce and distinct. He claimed that both men and women used it, and that it improves their beauty. You can imagine the effect. In the flickering, uncertain light of the longhouse fire, the eyes are the focal point of the face. A smudge of coal or charcoal mixed with fat around the lash line would make your gaze piercing. It would define your expression. It would make the whites of your eyes look brighter against the smoke, stained air. It is the Viking equivalent of Gullina, a touch of drama to match the carefully styled hair. You catch your reflection in a polished metal platter on the table. The dark lines around your eyes, the groomed beard, the shining hair. You look like a creature from a saga. You look intentional. That is the key. You have constructed your appearance. You are not just a passive victim of the environment. You have styled yourself. The feast continues. Meat is carved, bread is broken. Stories are told. But the undercurrent of attraction remains the strongest pull in the room. You notice how the clean people drift toward each other. It is a natural segregation. The ones who smell of pine soap find the others who smell of pine soap. It is a club. And once you are in the club, it is hard to go back. You find yourself sitting next to someone whose hair shines with the same care as yours. They are wearing a necklace of colored glass beads, blue, yellow, and white, that gleam against their clean linen tunic. You can smell herbs on their skin, perhaps a pouch of dried flowers tucked into their belt. It is a relief. You don't have to hold your breath. You can lean in close to whisper a joke about the ealdorman's long-winded speech. The sensory experience of Viking romance is surprisingly gentle. It is the touch of a soft hand that hasn't been roughened by neglect. It is the smell of clean linen sheets when you finally retire for the night. It is the visual pleasure of seeing intricate braids and polished beads. You think about the weddings in this culture. If the Saturday bath is a weekly ritual, the wedding bath is a monumental event. Before a wedding, the bride and groom undergo a ceremonial washing that makes the Saturday scrub look like a quick rinse. For the bride, this involves the broti alag, or bride bath. You imagine the scene. She is attended by the female relatives, the married women of the clan. They scrub her, they steam her, they wash her hair with the finest imported herbs. It is a rite of passage. She is washing away her maidenhood, washing away her old status. When she emerges, she is pure glowing, and ready to assume the keys of the household. And the groom, too, has his ritual. He bathes with his attendants, his sword brothers. They joke, they splash water, but they also ensure he is spotless. He might trim his beard into a new shape for the occasion. He might receive a new sword, but he also receives a new tunic, fresh from the loom, never worn by anyone else. When the two meet at the altar, or the temple door, or under the sacred tree, they are the two cleanest people in the world. In a time of mud and disease, presenting yourself to your partner in a state of absolute cleanliness is the highest gift you can give. It says, "I honor you with my best self." But back in the hall, the night is winding down. The fire has burned down to a bed of deep red coals. The shadows are stretching longer, reaching across the tables. The noise level has dropped from a roar to a murmur. People are starting to drift away to their sleeping benches or to the guest quarters. You finish your aisle. You feel a pleasant drowsiness, the legacy of the sauna still heavy in your limbs. You tap the pouch at your belt, feeling the shape of the "kiss me" calm. You decide that tonight is the night. You stand up, moving with the easy grace of someone whose muscles are loose and warm. You walk over to the person you have been watching. You don't need a pickup line. You don't need a poem. You simply smile, a genuine expression framed by your well-tended beard. You take the comb out of the pouch. You place it gently on the table in front of them. They look at it. They pick it up. They see the runes. They look up at you. The connection is made. It is simple, quiet, and clean. You walk out of the hall for a moment of fresh air before sleep. The night is cold, but you barely feel it. You are insulated by your layers of wool and your layer of satisfaction. You look up at the stars, the same stars that guided your ancestors across the sea. They look like diamonds scattered on black velvet, clean, sharp, and beautiful. You think about the legacy you are leaving. History will remember the axes and the shields. It will remember the burning monasteries and the dragon ships. But it will likely forget the smell of the soap. It will forget the tenderness of the grooming. It will forget that beneath the armor there was a person who just wanted to be clean and to be loved. But you know that the true heart of the Viking life isn't found on the battlefield. It is found here in the quiet moments of care. It is found in the steam of the bathhouse, in the slide of the comb, and in the shy smile of someone who has just received a simple gift of bone. You take a deep breath of the night air. It is crisp and pure. You turn back toward the longhouse, ready for sleep. You are a Viking warrior, yes, but you are also a man who smells good. And tonight, that is all that matters. The wind rustles the thatch of the roof, a soft shesh sound that mimics the rhythm of a comb through hair. It is a lullaby of the domestic. You step back inside, the warmth wrapping around you like a second skin. You move toward your sleeping place, passing the dying fire. You see the glint of the copper pot, the curve of the wooden ladle, the tools of the bath resting for the night. They will be waiting for you next Saturday. But for now, their work is done. You lie down on your bench, pulling the furs up to your chin. You can still smell the faint trace of the lye soap on your own skin. It is a comforting scent, a scent of home. You close your eyes, and the image of the feast fades, replaced by the darkness of sleep. The last thing you think about is not war, or winter, or gold. It is the simple, perfect feeling of being clean. The fire in the longhouse has burned down to a soft, pulsing bed of ash, and the years have drifted by as quietly as the smoke rising to the roof beams. You have moved through the cycles of the week. The Saturday bath, the Sunday feast, the days of labor, and now you are witnessing the final, most permanent cycle of all, You are standing in a quiet, open field near the edge of the fjord, where the water meets the grey, stony shore. The wind is gentle here, carrying the salt spray and the cry of a distant seabird. You are here to witness the preparation for the longest journey a Viking ever takes. It is the journey to the afterlife. And just as you wouldn't dream of attending a feast in the chieftain's hall without scrubbing your fingernails and combing your hair, you certainly wouldn't dream of entering the hall of the gods looking unkempt. The Viking obsession with grooming does not end when the heart stops beating. In fact, it intensifies. You watch as a group of people move with solemn, practiced grace around a large, wooden structure. It is a ship pulled up onto the land, or perhaps a purpose-built chamber lined with timber. In the center lies a figure at rest. This is a warrior, a matriarch, or a person of high standing who has passed away. But the atmosphere is not one of chaotic grief. It is an atmosphere of intense, focused domestic service. The body is being treated with the same rigorous hygiene standards as a living guest of honor. You observe the final bath. It is a tender, slow process. Warm water, heated over a fire nearby, is used to wash the skin one last time. The same soft, lye-based soap that smelled of pine and ash is applied. The hands that perform this task are careful, respectful. They wash the salt of the sea and the dust of the earth away, leaving the skin pale and clean. Then comes the hair. You have seen how much time was spent on this in life. The daily combing, the weekly bleaching, the careful trimming. Death does not excuse a bad hair day. The attendants pick up the familiar antler comb. It might be the deceased's own favorite comb, the one they carried at their belt for 40 years. The teeth are worn smooth from decades of friction against the hair. They begin to comb. Stroke, smooth, smooth. The sound is a soft whisper against the silence of the field. They detangle the long strands, arranging them in a dignified style. They might braid the hair, weaving in silver threads or ribbons of colored silk imported from the East. The goal is perfection. When this person wakes up in the next world, whether it is in Valhalla, Afalvanga, or Hell, they must look like themselves. They must look civilized. You notice that the beard, too, receives its final styling. The wax is applied. The shape is set. The forked points are sharpened. Even in the repose of death, the silhouette is maintained. It is a refusal to let chaos win. Death is the ultimate disorder, the ultimate dissolution, but the Viking response is to impose the order of grooming upon it. They counter the decay of nature with the structure of a well-groomed beard. Once the body is washed and the hair is styled, the dressing begins. The clothes chosen for this journey are not the everyday woolens. They are the finest garments the family possesses. You see tunics of imported silk, dyed in vibrant reds and deep indigos. You see tablet, woven bands of gold thread that catch the weak sunlight. You see furs, sable, marten, or bear, tucked around the shoulders to provide warmth in the cold earth. But what strikes you most is not what they are wearing, but what they are packing. You watch as the grave goods are brought forward. In many ancient cultures, people are buried with weapons or food. Vikings are too. You see a sword, perhaps, or a shield. You see a bucket of apples or a joint of meat. But right next to the sword, given equal prominence and care, is the toiletry bag. It is a profound statement. You see a beautiful, wooden bucket being placed near the head of the deceased. It is bound with bronze hoops and carved with intricate gripping beasts. It is a wash basin. It is there so that in the afterlife they can still wash their face in the morning. Next to it, they place a set of towels. Real linen towels. The thought is incredibly touching. They are ensuring that the dead will never have to drip dry. They are anticipating the comfort of a soft cloth against wet skin in the halls of eternity. And then the personal kit. The leather pouch you know so well is placed on the belt or in the hand. The comb, the ear spoon, the tweezers, the razor. These are not symbolic props. They are functional tools. The belief is literal. If you want to keep your beard trimmed in Valhalla, you need to bring your own razor. The gods might provide the mead and the pork, but you are responsible for your own hygiene. You might recall the famous Oseberg ship burial discovered in Norway. It was the grave of two wealthy women. Along with their sleds, their wagons, and their tapestries, archaeologists found a treasure trove of hygiene products. They found a wooden bucket full of wild apples, which likely gave the grave a sweet, fresh scent. They found 4 incredibly elaborate looms for weaving cloth. And they found combs. You watch as a small, specialized item is placed in the grave. It is a flat, smooth board made of whalebone or hardwood, along with a heavy glass smoother, the ironing board. Yes, even in death, the Vikings anticipated the need to press their clothes. The idea that you might spend eternity with a wrinkled tunic is apparently unacceptable. It speaks to a deep, cultural anxiety about looking sloppy. To be unkempt is to be lesser. To be groomed is to be noble. As the preparations continue, you realize that this grave is not just a hole in the ground. It is a room. In a chamber grave, the walls are lined with wood. Furniture is brought in, a bed with down pillows, a chair, a chest. It is a domestic space. It is a bedroom designed for a sleep that will last forever. The lighting is low, but the care is high. The air inside the burial chamber smells of the same things the longhouse smelled of: wood, wool, dried herbs, and the faint, clean scent of the soap. It is a familiar, comforting palette of aromas. It is designed to make the transition seamless. You go to sleep in your bed on earth, and you wake up in a similar bed in the afterlife, with your cum right where you left it. You observe the placement of a basin of water. Some graves contain bowls that were likely filled with water at the time of burial. Over the centuries, the water evaporates, but the intention remains: a final basin for a final wash. It is a gesture of hospitality to the traveler. Here is water. Wash the dust of the road from your hands. The sun is beginning to set, casting long, golden shadows across the burial site. The mood is quiet and contemplative. There is no wailing, just the soft murmur of the living saying goodbye to the dead. And the way they say goodbye is by ensuring the dead are comfortable. You think about the sheer volume of combs found in Viking archaeology. It is one of the most common artifacts, thousands of them. They are found in the graves of men, women, and children. They are found in the graves of the rich and the poor. This suggests that the right to be groomed was universal. It wasn't just for the kings. Every free person expected to go to the grave with their hair detangled. There is a particular grave in Sweden that comes to mind. It belonged to a warrior, a man buried with his sword and shield. But right next to his hand, where he could reach it instantly, was his comb. Not his sword, his comb. It suggests that his priority upon waking was not to fight, but to fix his hair. It humanizes him in a way that the rusty iron of a weapon never could. It connects you to him across the gap of 1,000 years. You know that feeling. You know the feeling of waking up and wanting to smooth down your hair. The final touches are being made now. A heavy woolen blanket is tucked around the body. The hands are folded. The tools are checked one last time. Is the razor sharp? Is the comb accessible? Is the wash basin steady? The heavy timber roof is maneuvered into place, or the earth is beginning to be piled up to form the mound. The sound of the earth falling is soft and muffled. Thud, thud. It is the sound of a door closing. But it is not a door locking them in. It is a door shutting out the noise and the mess of the world. Inside, it is quiet. Inside, it is clean. As the mound rises, you step back. You look at the grassy hill that will cover this chamber. It blends into the landscape, becoming part of the earth. But you know what lies beneath. You know that inside that dark, cool space, there is a scene of perfect domestic order. You reflect on the journey you have taken through the Viking world. You started with the Saturday bath, the steam of the sauna, the sharp edge of the razor, and the smooth glide of the ironing stone. You have seen how these barbarians were actually the most fastidious people in Europe. They waged a constant, gentle war against dirt. They carved beauty out of bone and antler. They used heat and steam to heal their bodies. And now, you see that this commitment extends beyond the horizon of life. The Viking legacy is not just one of conquest, it is one of care. They cared for themselves, they cared for each other, and they cared for their dead. The boring history of Viking hygiene reveals a profound truth about them. They were deeply human. They wanted to feel good. They wanted to smell good. They wanted to be attractive and respected. And they were willing to put in the work. The hauling of water, the heating of stones, the carving of combs, to achieve it. The darkness of the night has fully descended now. The burial mound is a silhouette against the stars. The work is done. The mourners have departed, heading back to the warmth of the longhouse for the funeral hour. But you linger for a moment in the quiet. The wind whispers through the grass on the mound. It is a peaceful sound. You can imagine the stillness inside the chamber, the calm waiting in the dark. The silver threads of the tunic catching the faintest glimmer of spirit light. The basin waiting for hands that will never wash again, but are eternally ready to do so. It is a comforting thought. The idea that we take our habits with us. The idea that the simple, soothing rituals of self-care are sacred enough to be preserved for eternity. You feel a deep sense of closure. The cycle is complete. The week is done. The life is done. And everything is in its place. The dirt has been washed away. The tangles have been smoothed out. The wrinkles have been pressed flat. There is nothing left to do but rest. You turn away from the shore and the mound, walking back towards the soft glow of the village fires in the distance. The air is cold and clean, filling your lungs with the purity of the north. You feel heavy, grounded, and incredibly calm. The story of the well-groomed Vikings has been told. The combs have been put away. The water has cooled. The steam has dissipated. You are left with the quiet, the deep, enduring quiet of a world that has washed its face and gone to sleep. Now, as the image of the burial mound fades into the velvet darkness of your mind, let the details of the history gently dissolve. Let the Vikings and their combs the steam of the sauna, and the crackle of the hearth fire drift away like smoke in the night air. They are gone now, resting in the quiet earth, and you are here, safe in your own time, in your own space. Feel the stillness of the room around you. It is a heavy, comforting stillness, much like the silence inside the turf-walled longhouse. You are warm. You are protected. The world outside has slowed down, its noise and its demands falling away, just as the dirt falls away in the bath. There is nothing you need to do right now. There is no hair to comb, no shirt to iron, no fire to tend. All those tasks are finished. Bring your attention to your own body. Feel the weight of your limbs sinking into the mattress, just as the stones sink into the earth. Let your shoulders drop, releasing the tension of the day. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands rest, open and empty. You are clean. You are at rest. Imagine a soft, warm wave of relaxation washing over you, starting at the top of your head and moving slowly down to your toes. It is like the gentle steam of the sauna, loosening every muscle, soothing every nerve. It wraps you in a cocoon of comfort. The air is cool and fresh, but you are wrapped in warmth. Your breathing is slow and steady, in, out, a quiet rhythm that matches the slow turning of the world. The darkness behind your eyes is soft and inviting. It is a place of deep peace, a place where you can drift, weightless and free. Drift deeper now. The history is a whisper. The present is a cloud. There is only the soft, steady hum of sleep waiting to catch you. Let go. Let go of the words. Let go of the thoughts. Just be.